Hello and welcome to the Stretch Goal Cast, your podcast for the latest and up-and-coming crowd-funded video games via Kickstarter, Steam Early Access, and whatever else we can find them on. I'm Justin Nichols.
Hello, I'm Clinton Ma.
Hi, I'm Remi Storms.
And I am Jared Wuerzburger.
So, what's the show about, man?
Alright, so in this show, we're basically going to be covering different games that we find on Kickstarter, Steam Early Access, etc., and giving you a bit more background information so that way you're not just investing blindly. Well, hopefully you're not doing that anyways, but this will just give you a bit more information on the different projects out there. And maybe we'll also help you find more video games, etc.
We've got a couple good ones up on the plate. We've got DayZ we're going to cover today, War of Omens, looks like The Repopulation, and a couple other things we're throwing in just for fun.
Alrighty. Shall we get started with the first one?
Yeah, let's get started with DayZ.
DayZ.
Okay,
Good.
so obviously, probably everyone's heard of DayZ. It's kind of all over YouTube. It's an unforgiving and very unfair game, which makes it a very good simulation game for a post-apocalyptic zombie world. There's a lot of the simulation comes through a lot in like the mechanics because it's very strict. Like you need a can opener to be able to open up your can of spaghetti to be able to eat so you don't starve. You could use an axe, but you won't get as much food that way. And then also there's guns. With a gun, you might have the gun and the ammo for the gun, but then you realize you don't actually have a magazine clip for it, which means you can't use it. But you could still use it in a threatening way so other players might think you could use it, and then you could hold them hostage, even though you really couldn't shoot them, which is kind of cool. There's also an interesting thing where, depending on how close you are to other players, if you're using a microphone, they'll be able to hear you. That's all depend on proximity. And since it is a simulation, a lot of the gameplay isn't going to be super focused on combat or even necessarily killing a lot of zombies. A lot of it is going into houses, looking for stuff. Most of the time you're not going to find anything. And then running from town to town, which takes like 15 minutes or so. So even though a lot of the gameplay is pretty considered, I'd say, kind of dull, it's actually still interesting because the whole time you're thinking, what's going to happen next? You're not quite sure what's going to happen because of all the different crazy player interactions that happen in the game. And that's sort of the driving force, I think, behind it. It makes it really good for YouTube videos. That's why it's all over YouTube, is because of the emergent gameplay, if you want to throw around that buzzword. Yeah, it's just you're never quite sure what you're going to run into next, how that person's going to interact with you. I have come across people who are friendly, but then definitely people who I just get shot and don't know where the person was.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Justin, what's your personal experience with the game? Have you played the game from the beginning? I remember seeing videos as long ago as a year ago where the game was very early, is like even pre-alpha almost, but the game was just out there. It was free, and it was just a matter of finding a server and just playing with people, and it was like super bare bones. And even then, it was really interesting to watch.
Exactly, yeah. I never played the mod DayZ, but I did start playing the standalone DayZ with one of my buddies, and yeah, I definitely recommend having at least someone else there, a friend to play with. Definitely having a couple people together works better because you can share your items. The more people you have, basically the more army you are and the more power you have in the game. Also, look up a map. There's maps online that will definitely help for when you want to try and meet up with someone, because you just have to kind of look for a road sign, figure out what town you are in, then look at this map online and try and coordinate where you two are going to try to meet. You'll probably end up getting a little bit lost, but eventually you'll find each other.
All right, so let's summarize what I guess everybody, who's been doing our research here, and what everybody thinks the pros of this game are.
Sounds good.
Why should it be backed? Why should someone go on Steam Early Access and pick this up?
Yeah, so first of all, how much is it to buy into the early access right now?
$30.
Okay.
And yeah, so not that cheap, but it obviously cheaper than a AAA full price title.
Sure.
Okay, what are pros? Why should someone buy this game?
Pros, I would say one of the big ones is during the entire Steam holiday sale, if you're following that, you might have noticed that on the top seller list all the time was DayZ, even though it was never marked down, $30 the whole time. On the first day, it sold 172,000 copies. So there's a pretty big following, and also if you look at the Steam list, it's always on like the top, I think like 10 as like the most popular games being played at any one time on Steam. So there's definitely a community following behind that game. So that's one pro.
So what's the con? What are cons involved in making the purchase early?
I would say zombies. I mean, I heard zombies, and immediately my eyes start to sort of glaze over. And I think if that's what it was about, it was just zombies, that was the hook, it would be an instant pass for me. But the fact that it is this multiplayer, emergent, open world sandbox, I shouldn't even say sandbox, but you're just trying to survive, and anything can happen. It definitely adds that interesting wrinkle to the gameplay, and I don't know, the game seems to epitomize like the sort of modern, ambitious indie game, don't you think? It's like this very unforgiving game. It sounds like a very difficult game to play. You have one life, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a roguelike, let's say. There's no hand-holding. They have, I guess, dynamic environments. Like, is there a set map? I guess there's a set map, but things like houses and like where zombies are located, that's all dynamically generated. So that's like a really big thing now too. And of course, like it seems to be a lot of like MMOs coming out these days from smaller to mid-sized studios. It used to be that no one would be making MMOs because of World of Warcraft, but for some reason the last year or so, you keep hearing about these new MMOs coming out. I was like, really? Is this still a thing? So it kind of just wraps up all these things that are really in with indie development right now. So I think it's really interesting in that way. And I guess this goes back to a pro for the game is if you're just the type of person who's really sick of like the more mainstream games that are super scripted, super predictable. We just play, watch a 10-minute cutscene, play for 5 minutes, watch a 10-minute cutscene. This is like a completely different, right? It's just you just dropped in there, you have to learn everything by yourself, and you could be dead in 2 minutes, right? If some psycho happens upon you.
It's kind of like I've heard people describe it similar to Minecraft a bit because you just drop in. There's really no tutorial. Maybe they'll add a little bit more tutorial to the game as it's going on.
Sure.
But I actually doubt that they will add much to it. I think I think learning the systems of the game, learning how to use everything in the world, that's sort of part of the experience.
It adds to the
right?
loneliness of the game. You're essentially on your own, and you need to learn how to be on your own, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's basically what they're trying to do, right? It's like a simulation of what would happen if a real zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
'Cause we've all thought about it. We've all thought about our plan for zombie apocalypse. So I think I haven't played this game, but for what I've seen in videos and all that, I think I'm definitely gonna buy it. because it has a lot of elements that I find interesting, and I love zombies like a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Clint, but I do like zombies.
Yeah, I like zombies too. If there is, I guess I'm approaching that breaking point with zombies in video games. But I guess like you, I would be curious enough to check it out. On one condition that I have some people to play with. So if I like join it with you guys, I think I would feel a lot better. I think every pro for this game is also a con, right? So if you're just going alone, I don't think it's gonna be the greatest experience. It just your mileage may vary, I guess. If you're one of those people who loves something like Demon Souls or Dark Souls and you just like getting punished and learning things on your own, then it's like this is a great game to play. But if you're like someone like me who even hesitates to go onto GTA Online just to check things out for fear of getting like ganked within the first 5 seconds, then I guess it's like a harder sell. But I was just checking out the user reviews on the Steam store page, and those are almost like selling points themselves. And I'll read a couple of them for you. One review says, "A group of males handcuffed me and took my pants off. 10 out of 10."
But there is a mechanic reason behind the pants, so I actually enjoy that part. I was looking at the...
And getting shot for beans, the video game.
That is good. That's
It's like...
Think
Well, I
about
guess
it.
I guess I'll be. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say one review I read that had a lot of like comments for it was, I ate a rotten kiwi and died, and then it's just like 10 out of 10.
I guess I haven't actually played. I'm pretty excited at the prospect of playing, and there's been a lot of games I guess that have a similar atmosphere. You're on your own. You're up against quite a bit, an onslaught of zombies. But from the reviews that I've read of the alpha client, I guess we should make everybody aware that in the current state of the game, it's about as alpha as it gets. I've heard that a lot of people are having, even with fantastic PC hardware, maybe a quad-core i5 with a 780, they're getting about 30 to 40 frames per second, which for that hardware is kind of lower for this. But it's alpha. You sign up for that when it's easy access, I guess, right?
Yeah, that I feel confident that they will make this into a decent game. I'm not 100% sure how confident I am in how like the melee combat will end up being. Right now, that's pretty weak. Right now, It's okay, but trying to fend off zombies sometimes can be a pain. The zombies need a lot of work still. So there's zombie collision issues. Zombies will just go through walls. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll be playing with a buddy, and I'll notice we're running in, like, trying to run in through a door, like, at the same time the game can't handle it for some reason right now. Or I'll just see him running through a house, but he'll be, like, clipping through the floor. There's a lot of collision issues right now. Some simple bugs are just like sound effects, like if you use an axe, it might sound like a gun sometimes, which is weird. Dropping items is one that you should know about. If you want to share items, sometimes you just drop it, and it'll take about 30 seconds for it to appear. So just know that ahead of time. If you're curious, like, I want to share this item, and you try to trade and it's not appearing, give it 30 seconds. It'll pop up somewhere close to you. What else? Oh, ladders. Just be careful of ladders. Ladders are really buggy right now, and they might kill you, so stay away from ladders if you can.
I guess one more topic before we finish up on DayZ is their usage of the Arma 2 engine instead of the Arma 3 engine good, bad, or ugly for this title?
I think it's Arma 2. Did you say Arma 3? Or,
yeah,
oh, yeah.
So because it is Arma 2 instead of Arma 3, how does that affect the game at all, or not at all?
I don't know too much about Arma 3. Obviously, it's not going to be as shiny as if it were made in Arma 3. But I think maybe they're going for just, since it was an Arma 2 mod, it was probably just easier for them to just work in Arma 2. And since Arma 3 is so new, uh, although I'm pretty sure Rocket, the main guy who's the lead developer on DayZ, who created the mod, he works for the company that he works for the Arma on the Arma titles, right? Or am I completely wrong?
No, I think that sounds familiar. Yeah, I'd have to look that up. We forgot. Cool. I guess one thing we forgot to do, Justin, was to talk a little bit about ourselves. Why should people listen to us?
Oh, sure. We'll cut this in, I guess. So you want to do a little quick bio of each other?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I guess we will have to edit this. And
Okay, yes, he is a designer of Arma 2 mod DayZ, who's... I'm just looking at the Dean Hall thing real quick. Anyways, okay, so I'm Justin Nichols, and a quick bio on me is, I guess I've always been playing video games. I guess maybe a little late. I didn't start until Super Nintendo, so I was like in second grade at that time, and been playing games since then. And then after I went to typical four-year university and working at an art museum, some guy came in and noticed that I had a video game magazine, and he's like, "Oh, my son worked on that game." And then I talked to this guy for a bit, found out about a game school up in Vancouver, went there for, it was just a year program, and that's how I met Clinton and Remi. And since then, I've been working on video games. I worked for a bit at EA, worked independently on some iOS games, and now I'm working for a startup company in Canada, although I live in the United States, and working on mobile games for them. And Remi works in that company. For now. Who knows what's next?
He's on
Yeah,
notice.
we'll see for how long, but
Yeah.
okay, that was good. Who's next?
Cool. I guess I'll go. Again, my name is Clinton Ma. I am a game designer and a writer, and been, of course, like most game designers, a lifelong fan of games. I guess I'm the elder statesman of the group, which is a way for me to sugarcoat that I'm the oldest guy here. So once in a while, I'll say things that totally date me. I'll talk about like cardboard games or
The
punch
Roaring
cards
20s.
or something. The Roaring Twenties, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I've also been riding the Kickstarter wave like everyone else. Been contributing to quite a few projects. I've contributed to high-profile ones like Double Fine Adventure, and some of the smaller stuff like all the card games are out there. You'll hear me talking a lot about card games and the small indie projects where it's just like two guys working in the basement. And for myself, I've worked at a few companies. I worked at Roadhouse Interactive, the Embassy Interactive, and spent a bit of time at Relic. And as I already mentioned, I've gone to school with Remi and Justin here. So that's a bit about me. Yeah.
What about you, Remi?
What about me? Well, I think my story is pretty similar as Justin. I went to university. I was studying engineering and all that, but I worked for 2 years, and I've always liked video games, of course. I'm pretty old, so my first video game, I think it was an Atari, the old one. So I started there. I think I'm almost your age, Quentin. I don't know. So yeah, I've always liked video games, but I never thought I was, I was going to be in making games for a living. So I started with Justin and some other friends, including Jared, making games independently for iOS mostly. I also worked on another side projects, and now I'm working in a Canadian company with Justin and Jared as well. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
been pretty
Jared's there
fun
too.
so far. Jared is there. Don't forget Jared.
It's part time. Part time.
Yeah. So, and now we're doing this podcast because we really like games and we have a lot of free time, I guess. So, what about you,
As you
Jared?
can see, also Remi does pornography from his little icon there.
Oh, do I have an icon there? As I mentioned, we have a lot of free time.
No,
Hey, we have to pay the bills.
I got involved in video game development from Justin, Clint, and Remy actually. When they were all in school, they had me do a little bit of work on their final project. I've been involved in music production for quite a few years. I went to school, took some classes on it, and playing all different types of music. And I really I've always loved games. Even as when I knew Justin when we were kids, we always used to play games. And so now it's really neat that we can actually all four of us have worked together, and three of us still do, and it's a blast. We can come together and have this podcast and talk about why we like games, which games we think we would purchase, and hopefully that helps you guys out there.
I've always really enjoyed just like listening to pitches of ideas. Like not even well, I like more like video game stuff for sure, but even doing like pitches for I did a couple business classes and like throwing out business idea pitches and stuff like that. It's always a lot of fun to hear just ideas and like the potential for what ideas can become. So yeah, that's why Kickstarter kind of clicked with me, and I think it kind of clicked with all of us and a lot of people. There's a lot of it's just cool to see, like, oh, that would be a cool idea, and then you kind of get a sense of community once you actually get a part of it. But there's always a risk, and that's kind of why we're here, is to help inform not only the viewers, but also ourselves too on some of these games that we find interesting. We might also look into games that we don't really find interesting and maybe give a little bit of constructive feedback on why maybe this project could have done a little bit better. But we want to try and keep it positive for the most part.
And I guess also try to, show as many different type of genres and games and all that, because
Yeah.
each one of us has a different taste in games and all that, so I think that also helps.
Exactly.
Awesome. Now, what's our second game we're talking about in the spotlight today?
All right, the second game we have on the docket is War of Omens. So give a rundown on this guy. This is a digital deck building and CCG hybrid. That's a collectible card game for the PC. It's browser based. You guys play a lot of card games? Like, have you guys played Magic? Those type of games.
Oh yeah.
Into that stuff.
Magic, Scrolls.
Yeah.
Those.
So yeah, this one is totally in my wheelhouse. I backed it myself, and it comes from a small studio called Fifth Column Games. They're based out of San Francisco, in the United States of America. And they started off in 2011 with just 3 guys, and now they've grown to a 15-man studio. And just to sort of really sum up their Kickstarter page is just jam-packed information, just scrolls on forever. Just trying to sum it up for you. What they're trying to do is they're trying to combine the mechanics that you would find in a game called Dominion, which is the deck building genre, where people just have like a common pool of cards and they kind of build their deck as they play from a common bank of cards. They have to use money to purchase these cards, and as the game progresses, they actually customize their own deck. They're combining that with the more traditional CCG model, which was pioneered by Magic: The Gathering, which is players buy their own cards out of a huge pool of cards, and they build their own deck, and they fight each other. They're usually wizards or something. They just try and kill each other with their own custom-made deck. So you look at their pitch video, and generally I would say the pitch video is very well done. Actually, let's just cycle back a bit, tell you a bit more about how the project is going. They started close to a month ago. their end date is approaching. It's about 7 days away, ending on January 13th. And their goal is 30,000 beans, and they've so far been funded about 22,000, approximately 360 backers. And so they're in a good spot. I expect these guys to fund, although I don't think they'll smash their goal and like go way over. Maybe discuss that later on. But if you look at their pitch video, it's generally really well done. I think it really is very safe, I guess, middle of the road. It kind of has a good balance of selling the sizzle of the concept and, still telling you what the game actually is. It's well produced and well edited. It kind of does the usual thing of kind of going through a bunch of talking heads, a bunch of different people on the development team, and they all kind of say their bit. But it's still really well done. The focus is always on the game. People don't go on tangents talking about themselves. And they also stress the importance of the players' contribution and how they really value the players' feedback and how that's going to shape the game, which I think is a really good thing to do in these videos. So you are investor are important. This is why backing us, you're going to get something out of it besides, the rewards that you get from the backer tiers. Another good thing with the pitch is that they tell you that the game is currently playable, and then after the project ends, they'll hand out beta access keys, which is a great sign that they're already on their way. They just need the extra push. It's not just some game design that exists on paper, right? And of course, they show a lot of game footage, which also helps. So yeah, have you guys had a chance to look at this project, and what are you guys' thoughts?
Yes, I have. Sorry, I was waiting for like someone else to jump in there. But I'll start. I'll take it.
Round table. Roundhouse.
Roundhouse. Anyways, one thing just to be clear, when you mention that you buy cards from this bank to put into your own like inventory deck, you say you buy that with money. Just to be clear, that's in-game like money, not like
Right.
it's not like a currency you buy. It's more like mana costs, or it's like a thing that's part of the game. It's not something you have to pay for.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's a good thing to point out. Yeah, I was just doing a quick and dirty description of Dominion, which I assume a lot of people have played.
Exactly.
It's a pretty popular deck building game. But yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible to talk about these type of games without talking about money, because that's how that's what they're based on, their business model. So anyway.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Because actually, Total Biscuit just did a good video on Dominion as well, and yeah, when I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, I totally understand it. Yeah, I think it sounds pretty cool. They talk about how basically every card can get leveled up as well, which is interesting. And yeah, I feel like these people, you can kind of tell that they are actually genuine and really interested in this game. They look like people that I play Magic the Gathering with, like at a comic book store and stuff. So
I don't know, Justin. What do those people look like?
Like us.
Goofy
like
hats.
Us.
Yeah.
Handsome.
And also the way they.
I don't mean that as a knock.
Game.
I'm just saying like they, like they got their own cool style. So
sure.
they don't got pop collars going on. They look real. They look like real people. So.
No, and also the way they talk about the game, it gives you like, you start believing in them because they actually say, oh, it's a game we spent a lot of time playing instead of working on it. So one of the guys actually said that. So, I always like, making games that I would like to play, which is a very big thing. Otherwise, the game's not going to be as good. So that gives you like, you know what? I believe in these guys.
Exactly.
And I think since I know that several of us have played trading card games over the years, and I think I've played Magic for almost 20 years, and on and off, of course. And I think that this is really interesting for me because I haven't actually played Dominion and some of these
Like deck builder
less
style.
less collectible card game, more deck builder on the fly kind of style. But it's interesting. I think one of the most interesting parts for me from a tech knowledge standpoint is that this is a browser based game, which I thought was really neat. So it doesn't matter what specifications your machine has, you can pretty much play this on any machine, and that maybe opens the door for tablets as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm not sure what engine they're building on, but they're saying they started off with a 2D engine, but then they just went all out and did a 3D, went 3D graphics. They have 3D rendered cards. You can rotate the camera over the table. It seems really extra and unnecessary, but it looks slick from what I've seen. So there's that, and it's going to run off your browser, which hopefully means that that's one less step for most people. You don't have to use less friction. People are just going to be able to play it immediately, set up their account and go. Yeah, I know. Anything else? As I said, I already backed this project. The rewards are pretty standard, nothing too crazy. I went in on the $20 level, so I'm going to
Nice.
get 10 premium booster packs. I think a bit of premium currency, and some badge or something for my forum name. It's they don't have any details on what the currency will get you or what the valuation is, so that's still really gray. And also, you don't really know the makeup of an individual booster pack, so it could be just booster packs where you have a chance of getting one rare card and the rest is just crap. Who knows, right? But as just mentioned, there is a way for you to do things with, filler cards that you get in packs. You can use them to level up existing cards, and this is kind of like a common thing that you see in these kind of free-to-play card games where you can level up a single card. How they're doing it is really interesting. Is that if you have card A and you use another card to level card A up, well, you lose, I guess, the card that you've destroyed, but you get another copy of card A. And that second copy is improved in some way, and they say that they reduce the cost by 1 on the new card.
Interesting.
So that's really kind of crazy. Definitely puts more demands on their design team and how they're going to scope out the game, how they plan out future expansions, how they keep the balance.
Exactly.
That's kind of crazy when you keep reducing the cost of a card like that, and it kind of brings into question how they're going to handle people who grind, the whole pay to win sort of aspect of these games, and like any good Kickstarter project, they pay a lot of lip service to saying, oh, no, it's not pay to win. You don't have to spend a dime to get the full enjoyment of War of Omens, but we all know for a fact that's very hard to pull off, especially if you're going to be doing competitive play, player versus player. There's always going to be some advantage that someone has from paying money. And I think overall the game has a lot of potential. It's going to fund. It's not going to do crazy. The market's already crowded at this point. There's so many digital card games, and I've backed a few already, like Hex and Soulforge. I've played Scrolls, that's already out there. Hearthstone is doing crazy on YouTube. It seems like everyone is playing that except me. Although I did get a chance to demo it, and it's solid. So there's just so much out there now, and it's going to come down to 2 tentpole games, and everyone else is going to fail, unfortunately. But I still back these guys. I expect good things from them. At the very least, you'll get a game that you'll play for a few months. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that since there's only 366 backers currently, do you think there's going to be a difficult to find people to play with online?
And
Yeah.
also, at the same time, is it going to get funded? We've got 7 days. I guess I haven't been scouting it out and see how they're doing on a weekly basis, but
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a chance it might not. There's usually a good push towards the end. Maybe the developers will just throw in the last chunk, who knows? But they are only, if you look at it, basically 2/3 of the way there.
Mm-hmm. And
I guess-
they're almost always is that last push in the final 48 hours or so.
Hmm.
Sorry, Jared, cut you off there.
No, I was gonna say the same thing. It's probably this is probably gonna be a push at the end, and I think the easiest thing that's gonna attract people to this particular, Kickstarter page is the low entry point, right? $10 is all we're talking about to get a piece of this game. So I'm definitely gonna throw in my $10.
Yeah, I think I'll buy it too. I mean, I like card games and all that, but I haven't seen too much of this. I guess Clinton is the one that knows more about it. So, what would you say is like the thing that differentiates this game from the other card games?
Yeah, like in their pitch video, one downside is that they don't really get into the mechanics or how the game would play, which is understandable because you're getting kind of into too much information when you're just trying to sell the sizzle, right? So you have to look at a supplementary video, like a separate page on their Kickstarter to actually get into a walkthrough. And so I checked that out, and it seems pretty interesting. It seems like they're trying to streamline the play. One good thing about deck builders is that they have good flow. You don't really get into a lot of analysis paralysis. You kind of have like one or two decisions to make each turn. It just boom, 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 and it's on to the next person's turn. On the downside of deck builders, that the theme is usually really disconnected from what you're doing. And so they kind of combine the best of both worlds of deck building and CCG. CCG is big on theme. You're like a wizard or something battling out against another wizard.
You're a
But
wizard, Harry.
high on complexity, right? Like sometimes you can just sit there, you're like, I don't know what to do, and it's tough. So they're trying to mitigate the weaknesses of both genres. And in this game specifically, your deck, crazily enough, is only 10 cards. So it's kind of weird. You're going to have this whole huge pool of cards, and when you go into battle, you're only going to bring in 10 cards, and you're just going to cycle through those cards. And a lot of it's really based on triggered effects, where you the first couple turns is sort of very standard, like, oh, we just put a bunch of money so you have money for the next turn, and then you start putting in one card, and that card will trigger something, like it'll produce food, which will enable you to put out like an extra troop, and that troop kind of does something because of the card before it, and so it's like this. Seems like there's gonna be like a lot of chain reaction effects.
That's cool.
Since you only have 10 cards in your deck, each card is going to be very important and integral to your strategy, right? So it's going to be, yeah, I mean, that's their hook, really. Like, what card game out there only has 10 cards in your deck, right? It's definitely streamlined and very different from things that have come before it, for sure.
Sounds pretty cool.
Very, very cool.
I gave it a thumbs up on Steam Greenlight.
I'm gonna kick this bad boy.
No, Greenlight on Steam Greenlight. They're also looking for that, so I recommend help get us on Steam.
Yeah, check out the Kickstarter link in the show notes and check them out on Steam Greenlight.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
On to the third project. Looks like we've got Repopulation. Who's taking that one? No one. Silence.
Repopulation.
If you want to take it, go for it.
Yeah, you take it.
Go, Jared.
Come on.
Yeah, I've been looking at Repopulation over the last few days, and I think it's pretty interesting from a sandbox, MMO standpoint. There have been a lot of games kind of like it, but as far as feature-wise, we're talking about the science fiction universe here. So sort of like anything from Star Wars Galaxies and Ultima Online. As a feature-wise, this is kind of, you're making this game what you want it to be. I guess we've yet to see if this has got some overscope or not. But there's a lot of functionality in this game. You can take this in third person or first person. You can play this as an MMO. You can take this as more of an action-based combat scenario. You can actually not participate in any combat at all if that's what you choose to do. There's 3 unique factions in this particular system. There's construction and crafting, similar to Minecraft. You can build cities in an open world. You can also gather enemies and make friends, and then besiege other cities. There's a leveling system. There's a single player component with NPCs. There's quite a bit going on in this particular game. I thought that, as it does not discounting from the game, but I thought the voice actor on the Kickstarter video was atrocious.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Was atrocious, and I just thought, that we're not
MMO
recommending it.
world.
What a creepy SOB. That's what I gotta say.
But I guess let's start the roundtable off.
I got chills from that voice. Not gonna lie.
Chills. Well, I guess Remi, what did you think? You can be first to the roundtable.
Okay, then. First of all, I think that this is where I'm gonna get a lot of haters, but sci-fi, spacey type of games is not like my genre. However, it does have interesting things like caught my attention, like at least from the trailer that the guy was saying, we don't have level, no class system, so you can pretty much do whatever you want. So let's say if you're like shooting at people and you're always using that gun, then you're gonna get proficient at that gun just by using it, instead of, oh, okay, I did some missions that I was forced to do. Now I have to spend this experience on whatever I want to do. So I've never liked that. So in this case, I think it's a good idea they have. Just by whatever you do, you're gonna get better at it, right? And they
Yeah,
don't
like
force you to
Skyrim.
do yes, exactly. They're not forcing you to do missions or play with your friends and attack this city or however the game goes. So that's pretty interesting.
Most definitely. I guess as a side note, they're from Normal, Illinois, which is pretty close to where Justin and I grew up. So there could be some love there.
They're
It
close.
looks like the entry point is what are we at? $10? They don't mention
It's going to be a free-to-play game. So all of this stuff just kind of get you little perks, stuff like that to help you out.
They have like these one-time subscription packages that will just give you like an extra hero slot or like extra inventory slots, and they're always there. I think it's a one-time thing, and then of course there'll be microtransactions all over the place, I'm sure.
I didn't really.
I guess
think
I'll go
that...
next.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I was just gonna
finish
say
your
one
thought
thing.
there.
One thing that Jared said. One thing Jared said that bothered me is that he said the building is like Minecraft, and just to be clear, the world is not made out of cubes.
No,
So-
that wasn't. What
I
I was
know.
gonna say. I was trying to
I
think-
just that's when people say it's like Minecraft, I think it's all cubes.
You mean
like
voxel?
7 days.
Yeah, you think voxel? Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how this game is. I'd say it's more kind of like maybe this. I don't know. You're kind of building things from your third or first person perspective, but you're just like the buildings look like buildings. You can actually place lamps wherever you want, move around furniture. So that seems like it's pretty deep system they've got there. But yeah, you do go out into the world and kill animals or mine rocks to gather materials like really all other crafting games.
And I guess it's important
Yeah,
to note they've already hit their budget. Sorry, Clint, didn't mean to do that. They already hit the $50,000 goal, so the game's going to be made, and people apparently want to play.
It's funny, like this. I was not excited about this game, and the fact that they're funded and they're doing well says to me that people just like big. You come out and you say, I got this big idea and it's ambitious and it's gonna have everything but the kitchen sink, everything and the kitchen sink, and your kitchen sink. Like everyone's kitchen sink is gonna be in the game. It's like
You're gonna get a
finally-
kitchen sink.
Yeah, and people are just like, wow, that's crazy. We don't see this out of the traditional publishers. Now we're getting some. Of course, you don't see it from the traditional publishers because they're it's nuts, right? This game needs a lot of focus, in my opinion. It's doing so many things, and I like how they leave it open to the players to shape the universe. And that kind of comes through in their art design, which is kind of generic. It's like your typical sort of like grassy plains with metal structures sitting on them,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like Halo style, or any other, like you look at any sci-fi game out there and it looks like that game.
Hmm.
Um, and they're gonna leave it up to the players to really shape things, and I guess they kind of want to have the EVE Online effect almost, where it's like we're just gonna sit back, we're gonna give them the systems, and we'll see what happens. And they're just giving the players all the tools possible to make it happen. As a result of that, I think the game lacks a lot of soul. I'm like, what is this world? Why do I care about this
Exactly.
world? I mean, it's just literally like an empty sandbox. And the thing that really stuck up to me that was cool was that you could play as a non-traditional sort of archetype, where you don't have to be a fighter or a thief or whatever standard thing. You could be a crafter or a tamer or, as they say, an entertainer. And when they say entertainer in the
It's
in the
like,
pitch
I
video, they show a go-go dancer in a bar. So that's interesting. So let's say I want to be a go-go
Remi?
dancer in this game, right? Is there enough stuff for me to do to feel satisfied? Like, do I
I'll give
still
you
have to
some stuff
wander
to
out
do.
into the wilderness to slay wildebeests and slimes to level up stuff, or can I just stay in the bar all day and dance?
You will entertain the wild animals.
So that the imagination starts to run wild on playing in a non-traditional way, and how will the game support that? That I want to hear about that stuff. I don't want to hear about being able to build out my apartment, even though that's kind of cool. But like, I'm gonna build up my apartment and no one's gonna come. I'll tell you that for a fact. I'll build up
Unless
my
you're a
pad.
good
No one's gonna come and
entertainer.
visit because everyone's gonna have their own pad that they want people to come to. And
Well,
it's just a lot of stuff in this game, and there's no focus. And I felt this about some other games recently too, like GTA 5, which has been like applauded by everyone. It's like game of the year everywhere. But I just thought like, wow, there's just like too much going on in this game, and I don't care, right? It's the whole like I don't care feeling sets in very quickly for me now. It's like
Well, and I
lack of
think
focus.
no, I think you're exactly right. I think that focus, the pre-established agenda on behalf of the developer is something that a lot of people like. I think it's more immersive to know what you're supposed to be doing in the game. At least for me personally, on a personal level, and I think that other people feel the same way.
yeah, I'd say like so. It's like I like the idea of like a big open world. That's cool. Like, but I think what DayZ has and what the Repopulation doesn't have. Like DayZ has like this core emotional like focus to it. It's like you are just trying to survive, and we're focused on that. Whereas the Repopulation is like, yeah, it's a sandbox, and some people just enjoy that.
They do.
So, but yeah, I think like it doesn't have that strong core to this game.
So I guess in summary, who's going to back this?
Well, first of all, I want to bring up a few things that are important. One is this already had a Kickstarter, and that was back in July 2012. So keep that in mind that this is their second time asking for money. The first time they got, I believe, 53,000, and they're only asking for 25,000. This time they're only asking for 50. Right now they're above that a bit. However, one thing that's interesting is if you scroll down and look at their stretch goals, it goes all the way up to 1 million. So they're ready for $1 million, but I don't think they're going to hit that. So, and some of the things that they mentioned in their pitch video are part of these stretch goals. So just because they've reached their 50,000 goal right now doesn't mean everything that they mention in this pitch video is going to be in the game. Keep that in mind.
And as a joke, I'm not going to back it because they wrote 1 million as 1 mil.
A milli. Another thing that sounded cool, one thing that I thought was really cool was that you could crossbreed and create genetically engineered hybrids of creatures in the world. So, yeah, I'm all for that though. So hopefully that makes it into the game. And yeah, I totally agree with Clinton that it just seems very broad, and Yeah, it just seems like the game's got everything, but how deep is the gameplay for each of these ways to play gonna actually be? No, oh, you can be an entertainer, which means you dance in this bar on this platform
But you
all
get
the time.
experience.
No,
You get
there is no
tips,
level
you get
limit.
mad tips.
Yeah, Matt.
Oh, sorry. The first Kickstarter that funded
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
Oh, that's very
it was
interesting.
successful. They got double what they asked for. So
So
they
it was
only
like
asked for
phase
25.
2 of the repopulation
Yeah,
story.
except they don't mention that at all, which, I mean, makes
Yeah, I think
sense.
that's smart of them.
It's a bit dishonest, I feel, but whatever.
I guess there's no rule against that, huh?
Yeah,
In
no, there
Kickstarter.
isn't. Yeah, you can, even if you fail, like you could have the same exact Kickstarter project, fail the first time, and then try again and see if it works out later down the road.
Well, think
Yeah, we've
about
seen that
this
happen.
from Kickstarter's. Think about this from Kickstarter's, viewpoint. They're a
Oh yeah,
business. They're making money off the profit of this. So
they make quite a bit. What was I gonna say?
Uh,
Someone else talk.
no,
I'm gonna
sure.
pass.
Well,
I'm gonna pass on this game.
Oh,
I'm
I
not gonna
got it.
go
I
with
got
it.
it. I was watching a YouTube video, and they were talking. He was at PAX, like the main designer who talks in this, and so they're at PAX Prime. So you know at least that there is some. They've been working on it. I feel like this game will come out. But even though he talks about all these things you can do, he said multiple times everyone is running around killing each other. And so that's basically what I think most people, that's what they were doing before when they're demoing the game at PAX Prime and stuff. That's probably what most of the game will be. And I mean, usually you give people a gun, they're going to shoot, so there's going to be a lot of, I think that's what people will mostly gravitate towards is, you get to choose if you want to do third or first person, which is nice. But I think, yeah, mostly people will be taking that gameplay route of doing the shooting stuff.
Yeah, and to be fair, you're at a demo station. You don't have a lot of time to actually dig into the
Become the
game.
best
There's probably like a
dancer.
vertical slice, like enclosed.
That's true. Yeah, maybe it was.
What's
Maybe
the
they
easiest
did just
thing?
focus on
What's
that.
the easiest thing, or the thing we know how to do best in games is to pick up a gun and shoot someone in the head.
That's true. Yeah,
So,
I could be unfair. Maybe that's all they have right now is the shooting combat stuff focus right now.
yeah.
But
I'll
yeah,
defend them there, but overall, I don't think.
I'm not gonna.
I think they'll fund, and I think they'll have like a. It seems like they'll finish the game, but I want no part of this. Not really. Not really my cup of tea.
So you're
Maybe-
gonna kick it to the curb.
Yeah. Down you go. Boom.
right. So I guess we're going to move on to another section of our talk, right, today. We're on Speed Round. And in Speed Round, we usually talk about, we either do a summary of what we've talked about already or kind of talk about some projects that we don't really want to talk about for 20 minutes but still want to talk about and spend a few minutes on. We've got a couple things. I know there's something that Remi's really looking forward to. Me and Remi are the only couple of people who are steadily still playing card games and D&D. Justin doesn't count.
I think I know what you're talking about. Are you probably talking about the GripMat?
The GripMat.
That was seamless.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting project. I think it's pretty simple and a lot of players, especially D&D or card games, or any board game, probably would find it interesting.
So the name
Um,
GripMat isn't descriptive enough, Remi. You have to go into some detail. What is
That
GripMat?
is true. What is a GripMat? Okay, so the GripMat is pretty much a piece of cloth. It's not really cloth. A mat that you put there, and you can put your card games or D&D figures or whatever things, and they will not slip through the surface. Or am I saying it right?
Slip on the tabletop. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like the
when
pieces will
you're
stay.
playing on the table, everything is just a mess. But with this thing, everything stays on place. Your little figurines, which is pretty good if you play every week with your friends and you're tired of it. And it's also waterproof, and
Stain-proof, as a matter of
stain-proof
fact, I
as well.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, both.
So that's a pretty cool thing. I guess we will put some images or something when we edit these videos, but that's it for the mat.
Yeah, I like the it's like a reverse ShamWow commercial at one point where he like dunks it into a glass of water, and instead of absorbing
Sure.
it, just like no water retention.
And it doesn't absorb water. Yes, that's a good thing.
But
Well, there we are.
geckos can climb on it, which is very good. Gecko approved, I believe.
Yeah, GripMat. It's pretty interesting. We've got so it looks. It's pretty much just a mat, on the table. You can. And here he's using it for Carcassonne, and I've heavily played Carcassonne, and I feel like this mat is not big enough for a game of Carcassonne. So, but I'm
Oh
still.
yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
That's just my. And he says it's perfect for Carcassonne. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and back it 'cause
Liar.
I've been wanting one
You
for
can
a while.
always buy 2 of them.
You could buy 2. They make them huge. I mean, we've got them all the way up. Let's go down.
Huge, Jerry.
Huge.
So we
The biggest is 24 by 68 inches. My lord. We're talking
You can
over
play
6
Carcassonne
foot.
on that. Yeah.
2 foot by 6 foot.
That's like a beach towel. I don't
It
really
is.
know.
So anyway, what am I
That,
spending on this?
You can use it as a dining mat as well.
Why
No
not?
spill.
Seriously.
I guess I don't know what to spend on this. I think I'm gonna go 16 by 24.
80.
You eat dinner on it, you wipe it off, and you start playing
Eat
cards.
dinner on it.
Get the $100 one.
80. 80.
So
Can we
it comes
see
in different
your,
sizes, is what I gather. How many different sizes are there?
There are at least 5 sizes. The
Ooh.
16 by 24 is the $25. That's kind of about as much as I want to spend on a mat.
Do you get to choose what graphics are on it? Because
I
it
think
showed
they're
a
going to
few-
email you and ask you for that.
Yeah. Do we get to see your password here, or?
It's all dots.
I hope like all of his information. I think you're showing your billing address.
You don't see it though,
Maybe
right?
not.
Unless I
Oh.
talk, right? Only when I
Well,
talk,
it's
right?
down in. I can see.
Yeah, but
because
they
of
can't
the-
see it.
Okay.
They can't
I'm
see
not sure what people can see.
it. So I've backed this guy, and I hope. Let's look at what the sizes are real quick. That was a good question.
You can always change your pledges as before the campaign ends. So
That's good to know.
yeah.
We've got an 18 by 18, a 15 by 15. Why is that more
Wait, why
expensive
would-
than 18 by 18?
Do you get both?
Nah, I don't think so. Did anybody see anything? Then we've got a
Get a
16 by
smaller
24 for more money. Cool. Anyway, I figured that would be
Oh.
good to see.
Yeah, it's a nice niche product. I mean, totally up our alleys. We all play board games and card games. Price point, I guess, is okay. Like you said, like no more than $25 or $20. It sounds about right.
Yeah, Matt. It's not a sexy product for sure. It's like,
No.
We never said it was. It's just like useful if you.
I know.
Let me ask you this:
I do
You're
like
the kind
it,
of
and
person that
I'm
wants
joking.
this mat. How important is sex to you? It's not an equation. It's not in the equation.
Not an equation. But yeah, I
Although-
guess. Sorry, Justin.
I was just gonna say, like, I just got the Battlestar board game, and it's like that would not apply to that game really because, it's a board game and it's on a board. This is more for like those tile-based type games where you have a lot of pieces that can move around. I don't know. Maybe it could still be useful for a board game. I don't know. I could maybe, I guess, see it a bit for Magic, so your cards kind of. Although tapping might be difficult because you're.
Might be too grippy.
Yeah, can't
Yeah,
rotate.
that's a good point. Tapping cards could be tricky.
Yeah.
And most Magic players that I know, and myself as well, we use sleeves, and
Yeah.
if that's not enough protection on the surface you're playing with. Like, just wipe down the bar counter or wherever the heck you're playing your card games. Just wipe it down first and use your cards and sleeves, and that should be enough for most people. So this is really for the hardcore of the hardcore. If you're playing a lot, you go into tournaments, you want to kind of show off a bit, show off that sex appeal.
Maybe you could use it
bring
like
your mat along too, right?
for like gaming on your PC as like a rest or something on your desk, or put your drinks on it so you don't if you spill. That way it's like, oh, it's all over my desk.
You can put this on your lap maybe, and you can just like game off your lap.
Just eat your Cheetos that way.
All right, what's next in the speed run?
What is next? We have Ares magazine.
Take it away, Clinton.
All right. This is a pretty old school concept. It's a Kickstarter. Info in the show notes. What they're trying to do here is an 80-page bi-monthly magazine. That's bi-monthly as in every 2 months. And each issue is going to feature about 16 short stories, science fiction stories. They have some interviews and articles in there as well. And another key selling point is that every issue they'll have one fully playable board game. So this is something that's obviously going to be pretty basic, where you maybe have a piece of cardboard and you just push out the pieces on a punch board, and you have to supply your own things like dice and chits and markers. But they'll give you the base pieces, and you have a rule book, of course. And it's how retro can you get, where you're trying to push a paper magazine in this day and age, and you're also including a board game. Like, this totally brings it back to when I was a kid in the public library, and they had this sort of stuff in the magazine section. And I used to go to my cousin's place, and he had this sort of stuff lying around too, and it's totally a product of the 70s and 80s. And it's ballsy of them to try and bring something back. I know retro is all the craze now on Kickstarter, but I kind of feel like this particular concept, I think the sun is set on this particular concept, just because it's just, a paper magazine, like, guys, the publishing industry is not doing great these days. I don't know if you heard.
There's very few trees left on this planet.
And and board games for the last 10 years or so, there's been this slow resurgence of board games, and it's getting even crazier now with board games making a jump to mobile and PC, and so it's broadening that audience. But my concern is that they're pumping out a game every 2 months. They even admit that it's hard for them, to get good game designs at a steady rate. They've name dropped a few designers, but I never heard of them. And it's like, what's the quality bar on these board games? If they're in a weird situation where it's like, is it going to be like super casual, easy to pick up, and disposable as well, or is it going to be like super hardcore where you're going to be able to play it a bunch of times, but then
my guess is they would want to mold it in. I really want this to succeed. I want to believe that people want. I don't know about anybody else, but I like getting things in the mail. Does anybody else like that? No. I like getting things in the mail, packages, whatever. So if I know every couple months I'm going to get a section of stories, that kind of excites me. I think I'm going to back this guy too.
Cool. It's definitely a charming project. And it's a great sort of platform for new writers to emerge, as well as new game designers. Anything that kind of gives those type of people more exposure is awesome. I almost feel, though, that they'd be better served to make this a digital project, and have like a digital magazine that you subscribe to or something, and then serve up either video games or sort of like digitized board games.
That's what I figured it
obviously,
was.
that opens up a whole new can of worms. I think a lot of these guys just come from old school publishing and editorial, so they don't want to go the extra step to hire like developers and designers who work in mobile, and there's all this sort of stuff you gotta start supporting once you go digital. So, I can see why they just want to stick to what they know, right?
Sure.
It's to be
Remi, Justin, what do you guys think?
I actually like the idea a lot of the stories, and also you get a game with it. But I'm not sure about the printed paper part of it. Just especially when I think about how the board games are gonna be. I guess it's just gonna be like really simple, just because they can't really, like spend a lot of money on, giving you cardboard pieces and all that, because they obviously have to keep it really budget, right? Or budget based. They can't really sell you all this miniatures and things like that. So that's also going to be a thing that keeps game design kind of limited, if it makes sense. Unless
Tic-tac-toe.
they just give you the rules right at the end of the page. That's the board game. Here are the rules, and you have to gather all the materials that you're going to use. But as Quentin said, yeah, I think it would be a great project on downloadable content, for your iPad or whatever device you want. And then you get more possibilities for also these board games as well. Digital. Everything's going digital now. Even you like it or not, you have to go with the flow. At least that's my humble opinion.
So humble.
Very humble.
Stay humble.
But I do like the idea.
Cool.
I would not have time to read these stories. I think I don't know. It's cool, and I think it's cool that people like it. And yeah, I'm totally down. Like, it's like a lot of Kickstarters where I'm like, this is not for me, but I hope that it can exist because it sounds cool. But I've backed a lot of things, and it's sometimes you get into like this vibe of like, oh, this is cool, I want to back it. It's like when you first get Steam and you're like, oh my god, this game's on sale, get it, and then you realize like, oh, I've got, like, yeah, I haven't played half, I haven't even installed half of the games in my library. What am I doing? So, and I
You
feel
have played
like
5 minutes of this game.
yeah. And yeah, it's like I'm with Kickstarter, I've kind of maybe at first I was a little like that too, not too much because I kind of learned my lesson with Steam, but yeah, this isn't drawing me in personally, but I think like, hey, I'm all for pitching it out there to try and help find it an audience because I think the people are interested in it.
And people are also
passion.
interested in a game called Doomsday. Huh, Justin?
No, they aren't. So Doomsday is one that I want to talk about that maybe none of us are psyched about. I did a little extra research on this. This has 7 days to go currently right now as we record. They're looking for just $7,000. I believe it's like a tabletop pen and paper RPG adventure type of game, and they're asking for 7,000. They've made just under 1,000 right now with just 18 backers. The game is from one of the co-creators of the cult classics Exterminator Encounter for the original Gamma World, which apparently, like, Gamma World is this D&D spin-off. Like, I had to look this up. Like, I had no idea what any of this was because if you watch the video basically just shows the planet Earth, and it looks kind of cool. It starts off, there's the planet Earth, and then like it shows Switzerland, and then this huge explosion, and then it like kind of cuts to black and just says like apocalypse, and that's it. It's 30 seconds. So the pitch video does not give much information at all, which is always an alarm for me because I gotta see something, I gotta, like, what is the game? I had no idea what it was. I'm like, is this a video game? But apparently, after doing some research, I found out that, yeah, Gamma World was this D&D spin-off that sort of, I believe, takes place in the 25th century. It's like fantasy, post-apocalyptic, crazy stuff going on. And this guy apparently wrote in like a story or like wrote like an adventure thing for it called Exterminator with someone else. And apparently that was quite a long time ago. I was looking at like a thread that he was talking to people with, and someone's like, well, you haven't done anything in a long time, and you're, like this, I'm kind of not very clear as to what you are making this time around. And I think he kind of got the message, that okay, yeah, I need to maybe I didn't hit this one out of the park too well. I believe um, his name was like John Mao. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, I think he had good intentions. And another thing that kind of was alarming to me was that he mentioned how his 9-year-old son was kind of helping him work on it, which is sweet, but I don't know if it's gonna make for the best product. Maybe not. I guess like if he's aiming for, like a young boy demographic, that sounds creepy, but if he's aiming for that, then maybe that's good. But yeah, I just like the comments in this thread where it was like an RPG website. Like a lot of people were kind of giving him good constructive feedback, and I think that maybe this guy could come up with something good, but yeah, it sounds like he hasn't done a lot recently, and the video is just, there's no information there. It's just not a good video, unfortunately. I like the artwork of this like plane on the front of it. That's what kind of drew me to it. So yeah, I don't think there's too much hope with this one, unfortunately, but that happens. Maybe he can take what he's learned and maybe work on it a bit more and be able to come out with a better video down the road. Do you guys want to?
Yeah, just a quick comment about that. What you said. It's mainly just for everyone out there that wants his project to be backed on Kickstarter. That all these things that Justin is mentioning, they're pretty important. If you have a project and you don't have enough information there, like in this case, he did all this research because we were going to do this podcast, but a lot of people are not going to bother, looking for what is this or see the background of all these things. So the best way of doing it is just put a lot of videos, and if you don't have videos, put a lot of images and a description of what your game is or any project, right? Not just games, but what are you doing with it? Who are you aiming it for? And what makes it different, I guess. Just like a quick comment. That's all.
Yeah, it's good.
Had any of you ever heard of Gamma World, that D&D?
It rings a bell.
Exactly. I've heard the name.
Because I had never heard of it before, and I was like,
You're too young.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it seemed like it was like, this is his big, like, like, oh yeah, everyone should know what this is, But I was like, yeah, I think it's pretty niche, and maybe it's just too niche, but I don't know. Also though, I guess like those mats that like Jared was interested in, Remi were interested in, that's a pretty niche product too. But I feel like those actual like physical products, like if you ever see on Kickstarter like dice or like a D&D like game holder device, or those things like get funded so quickly. Have you ever noticed that? Or miniatures, like those things do really well on Kickstarter, it seems like. So that's kind of
they're
cool.
Flexible products.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Dice you can use for anything, and miniatures with a bit of imagination, right? You can use them for a bunch of different game systems. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything you said about Doomsday. I myself, I'm not really in the loop on the pen and paper RPG stuff, and but yeah, just based on their pitch video on their page, it's like they don't really go out of their way to really fill you in if you're a newcomer, and they just assume a lot of knowledge on your part. And on Remi's point, on kind of like selling your game properly on Kickstarter, it's really important, of course, to give enough information, but also get to the point and brevity. I think they kind of went too far with the brevity. I mean, their pitch video is 30 seconds. I mean, if you want to do an elevator pitch, that's great, but you gotta at least convey information during that elevator pitch. And this was just like a cutscene sort of thing, and it doesn't really fit with the product they're selling, which is a pen and paper system, like a module, which it's not very sexy. It's hard to sell in 30 seconds. I'll give them that, but yeah, it's a challenge for them to sort of figure out a way of how they're gonna push this product forward and explain it in a clear way. And yeah, it's his first crack at Kickstarter is my guess. So this will be a good learning lesson, and it's good for us too on what not to do, right?
Yeah, I think especially just the CG like video that it makes you think. It made me think video game. Like I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is a video game, because like if it's a real physical product, usually you see those in the videos. You don't have like a CG cutscene.
Cool.
Right.
Jared just backed it.
No, not that one. Just 2 out of the 4 today. The one side note, breaking news. As I was doing some digging, I just had this pop up on me. DayZ standalone, which we talked about previously in at the very beginning of the show, top of the show. It has sold 730,000 copies since it launched on Steam, and that was when? When did it launch? That was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, something like that.
That's a lot of people ready to kill you.
That's a lot of people ready to kill you. And what's interesting about that is that 400,000 of those copies were sold the first week, and 172,500 copies were sold within 24 hours. So nuts.
Yeah, I think for DayZ, if you're on the fence for that game, I should have talked about this before. Maybe we'll splice this in. I would say if you're on the fence right now, like wait. I think for anything, if you have any doubt, then like just don't buy the game. Don't get into the early access. I think like just kind of wait and see how it goes. Wait until there's maybe a couple more bugs fixed out. But if you're kind of interested in it and you've got a couple friends, then go for it. Because it's even with the bugs right now, if you got a crew together and you're running around, you'll have fun. Because despite the bugs that are in it right now, it's like I still like going in once in a while. Although I'm kind of like, I might wait to really get into it once the game's really polished and there.
Good.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we should do in a future episode. We should even focus a lot of discussion on alpha products and the whole early access stuff, because it's not going away anytime soon.
No.
It's a trend that's here to stay, and there are a lot of good things to it, and also a lot of bad things to it. And yeah, there's a lot of like misunderstanding too on the consumer's part on what they're getting into. And so yeah, I think it would make a good topic for the future us who will talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Be
That's
its
a good
own
idea.
section and all that, but we're still working on it, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate everybody.
The format might change a bit for this show as we go.
Same
Yes,
as
this
the
podcast is a work in progress.
Cool.
Cool.
Great.
Well, anybody else want to say anything before we wrap up?
Well, how are we gonna wrap this guy up?
How are we gonna wrap it up? Let's see here.
Anyone like playing anything lately that they just want to quickly comment on? Games you've been playing?
Hmm.
I think I'm the only person who's playing Battlefield 4 that is not having any issues.
Oh wow, you're like
It's
the
not pissed
mythical
off.
beast.
I'm
The
the I'm
unicorn.
the I'm the unicorn of Battlefield 4, and I've had fun like on tablet and everything. So I've been playing a lot of that. I've been playing some with Justin, playing a little bit of Trine. It's on sale today and other stuff. So
On sale where?
on Humble Bundle of all places. So Humble Bundle store.
Humble Bundle has a deal? Get out. Place is a ripoff usually.
How about you, Justin? Playing anything?
um, I've been playing basically. I've got my two go-to games. Well, I mean, I've been playing DayZ a bit. But like I said, I've kind of been weaning myself off a little just because I want to wait until it's really good. Uh, but I've been playing a lot of Chivalry, Deadliest Warrior,
Oh yeah, me too.
which is a great game. Uh, I definitely, if you're into, I like the idea of fighting games, but I never like the idea of like doing these like weird movements to get these combos happening. I don't know. It just seems so weird to be like, okay, double circle is gonna, like do this crazy grab pile drive move, and I don't know. I've never been a fan of that. Like there's a lot of disconnect to like your control input to what the character is doing on screen.
Hmm.
Um, but with Chivalry, it's pretty good. The controls are really tight, and it's just a great. It feels like a fighting game because there's a lot of you can parry, you can fake out, block, a lot of different types of attacks. Um, you can actually go into training mode and see what your hit traces are, which can be really helpful for learning. And yeah, it's just I played the original Chivalry, and now I'm up to like 170 hours combined with the original Chivalry and Deadliest Warrior now. So yeah, I definitely recommend looking into that game if you want something that's kind of unique, fighting game wise. It's if you're a fan of like first person shooters but hate always just getting like sniped or like getting shot and you're not sure where the person was. This game, it's like when you fight, you're kind of like running up to the person and it makes for more like fair, balanced, I guess, like uh, playing field that way.
Cool. Anybody else?
How about you, Remy?
Um, well, because of Christmas and all that, visiting friends and family, I haven't really played much, but I just beat The Last of Us, which I don't know if
Oh,
it
cool.
counts, but it's an amazing game, and I know a lot of people would love it.
I heard the ending's
Uh,
good.
the ending is pretty good. I'm not gonna spoil it. I've also been playing Plants vs Zombies too, and I don't know, it just died on my iPad. I don't know why they have to fix that bug, so I've been playing it on my little device, which I hate. In the iPad it was great, but I don't know, it just keeps crashing. Yeah, other than that, I don't know, but this week I'll get into more playing again.
Nice.
Cool.
For myself, just playing a couple games. Working through The Witcher 2. I talked to you guys offline about this a while ago. Giving it a second chance. I kind of restarted from the beginning and enjoying it a lot more. I guess Witcher 2 is one of those games where you just have to commit yourself to it. Total design issues all over the place, not the most user-friendly thing, very European. So you have to accommodate yourself to the game, not the other way around. So it's sort of like against the grain of what we see nowadays. But I'm enjoying it a lot more now that I've sort of like learned the combat more and paid more attention to the story. So I'm sort of like halfway through at this point. I'm not really sure. I'm chapter 2. I don't know if you
What
guys have played the Witcher games.
what difficulty are you on?
I'm on normal.
Okay, because I
Yeah.
did like you go into that arena at the beginning and it's like a big like combat tutorial thing.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I was doing that, and they're like, "We recommend easy for you." I'm like, "Ugh, no, I hate that. It pissed me off." So I'm like, "All right, I'm not gonna play on easy. I don't play on easy."
Yeah, that game is a little weird. Like, I tried playing it on easy the first time around when I got stuck on this stupid boss fight in the first chapter. And easy is really insulting. Like, it's just pointless to even pay attention to how you develop your character or even
Okay.
how you fight. You just mash on the fast attack and you win. But then you jump up to normal, and it all of a sudden becomes very difficult. And you have to sort of learn the systems more.
Yeah, I think part of it was maybe I've never really played a game like that with mouse and keyboard. So
Yeah. The game is still equal parts aggravation and enjoyment, but yeah, I'm going through it, for real this time. And aside from that, I'm playing Soulforge on the iPad and Steam. It's a card game. Was a Kickstarter earlier or last year, and getting my ass handed to me in a tournament that I'm playing. And playing what's this? What's it called? Oh, it's Puzzle Quest. It's Marvel Puzzle Quest Dark something. Anyway, it's a Bejeweled
right,
clone,
yeah.
but with the Marvel license. And
You've got like team of three, right, or something?
yeah, a team of 3 guys. And yeah, I guess if you play Puzzle Quest, it's very much in that same vein. But it's just as addictive, and it's pretty fun to just poke at every now and again. And that's me.
Cool. Well, I think I speak for everybody and appreciate everybody watching. If there's anybody out there watching, we've had fun. This is fun. I'm excited to do this on. So I guess when is our next show going to be for anybody out there that cares?
I'd like to try and do this weekly. If we all can't be there, that's okay. I guess we could, kind of mix it up. But what do you guys want to do?
I think we could aim for a weekly thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's in terms of prep time. I mean, it's not too demanding, and there's plenty of stuff to talk about, Kickstarter wise, Steam Early Access wise.
We could try to keep more to the format. I noticed that I didn't totally follow the name a project, type of project, platform, genre, etc., developer name.
I've tried to keep us together.
I kind of forgot about that.
No, it's the first time around.
DayZ's on PC.
It's our first time around. So no need. We'll get it.
We got to end this episode officially, right? We're still technically speaking to the public, our listeners.
Yes.
So,
thanks for watching.
Take us out.
Yep. We'll see everybody next week.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. See you guys.
And as always, stay stretchy.
Oh, I guess we should.
That's not going to be the text.